Today, we're going to be talking about my marathon running shoe rotation, or, just the running shoes that I've been rotating in my recent marathon build for Long Beach Marathon in October. There has been a little bit of a lull in the new running shoe releases recently, or just a lot of them haven't really caught my interest. So I have had the time and the pleasure of wearing some of my oldies but goodies, and I'm gonna show you guys what shoes I've been really enjoying when I'm not testing out new shoes. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So in total, there are actually, I would say, around 3 to 4 shoes that I find myself reaching for the most, but I am gonna give a couple of honorable mentions and explain a little bit why they're honorable mentions and not in my top 3 or 4. So starting off with one of my favorites, all-time favorites, the Nike Pegasus 41. So this is an honorable mention because I have over 250 miles in this shoe, and honestly, I'd say that it's at the end of its life. I'm gonna be honest. It does look like there is still a little bit of waffle pattern left on the outsole. However, when I do tend to run in these or I try walking in these too much, I do feel like the cushion or the outsole just doesn't feel right anymore, and it does bring some lingering injuries, or it makes my legs feel a little bit weird when I am running in them now. So at 250 miles, I've kind of called it. They're kind of my mowing the lawn shoes, or just walking outside for a quick maybe walk with the dog or something like that. But I don't believe I can really run in these anymore. I am really tempted to pick up another pair at a huge discount now that they are a little bit on the older side, but I'm kind of holding out to see when Nike's gonna release their Pegasus 42. But honorable mention, daily trainer, is the Nike Pegasus 41. If these were brand new, I'd probably wear these probably the most out of all my daily trainers. Moving on to my next honorable mention, the Asics Novablast 2s. Now, I really enjoy running in this shoe. I think partly the reason why I don't run as much in this shoe, or I don't run in it more, is that, I don't know, just mentally in my head, like I have put quite a few miles on the Novablast 2 and I have enjoyed the shoe, but just mentally, I don't want to get this shoe dirty. I kind of want to baby it a little bit because I really love the colorway, as well as I kind of don't want to like spoil myself all the time while I'm running. Not to say that this shoe is like the bee's knees or it's the greatest shoe of all time or anything, but I do feel like this shoe is super lightweight. It feels kind of like the intermediate between a race shoe or a plated shoe and a regular shoe. So it does have a little bit of that bounce. It is extremely lightweight. And I just feel like I'm spoiling myself every time I run in them. So I don't know, for some reason, I just don't run in these all the time. I feel like in my head, it feels like a bad habit, or I don't want to get used to shoes feeling like this maybe. I want to train all the muscles in my body, and I want kind of like something more firm, and even though these are typically kind of firm, or I just want to like work a little bit harder on my runs. This is not a Novablast 2 ad, by the way, but yeah, for some reason, I just don't find myself picking these shoes all the time. Maybe it is the fact that I don't want to get them too dirty or anything, or I just want to save this shoe or put it on ice, but I really do enjoy running in this shoe for long runs. I do tend to see that when I am running faster than half marathon pace, or maybe 10K pace. I don't exactly know what my 10K pace is, but when I am basically running faster in this shoe, I do feel like I compress the forefoot quite a bit. And I think that that's maybe one of the drawbacks of the shoe, is that I would want to feel a little bit more bounce in this shoe. But I do really love running in this shoe, and that's why it's kind of in my honorable mentions. I do pick up this shoe when I do have a longer run and I kind of want to treat myself, but don't want to give myself a plated trainer. So the Novablast 2 is one of the honorable mentions as well. Super good shoe, but priced at $200, I would hope so. And last but not least, my last honorable mention is, to my surprise, honestly, and you guys might be surprised as well, the New Balance Balos. So I think that this shoe is ridiculously overpriced. We've kind of talked about it in my previous review, but it is $200. I think I saw this shoe on sale for $150 a couple of times. Maybe it's even gone lower than that now, but I do think that for $150, or maybe if you can get it even cheaper, this is a phenomenal daily trainer. I think that the stack height obviously isn't as tall as the Novablast 2s, or maybe the Glycerin Maxes or the Pegasus Premiums, like, that $200 daily trainer price point that's non-plated. But I do feel like the foam inside is just definitely way better than the 1080 V14s as well as the 880 V15s. I would say that it's a little bit more bouncy, but it's still not super bouncy, even though this is a PIBA blend. I just really overall like the fit. I like the materials. I like the way that it just feels on my foot. And then I also do like that it's a little bit more minimal, but what I don't like is the price point. So $200, definitely not a go for $200, but I think if you can get them cheaper than that, like 150, 130 to 150, I would say go ahead and cop this shoe. You're gonna really love it. Another thing I don't love about this shoe, which is probably why I don't wear it as often as some of these other shoes, is that in my experience, the traction, since they do use a lot of midsole material on the bottom of the outsole, I just feel like it's not super durable, as well as the traction that I get, especially when I'm running near the beach where there's a lot of sand on the road. I know that's kind of a niche topic, but I would assume that this outsole also doesn't do well in a lot of different conditions. So that's just one thing to know. I don't really like the outsole, but overall, this shoe is way better than the 1080 V14, better than the 880 V15. Obviously, it's priced higher, but I wish that New Balance kind of made this the 1080 V14 and priced it at $165. I think that that would be a lot better and a lot more fair for the 1080 line. So New Balance Balos is my last honorable mention. So let's get right into my top 4 shoes that I've been running in or really loving recently. These are gonna be in kind of the order in which I really love the shoe, or kind of like the frequency that I run in the shoe. So, I mean, if you're wondering what this order means, or if I'm going from, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's kind of what it means. I'm picking the shoes that I kind of run in the most, and I'm gonna save that one for last. So number 4 on my list is the Brooks Glycerin Max. Now, I don't want to spoil the other shoes that I have that are higher than this shoe on the list. And honestly, I was pretty surprised that I have been running in the Brooks Glycerin Max quite a bit recently. This is the kind of shoe that I throw on when my legs are feeling a little bit beat up. And I just want something super comfortable that is kind of high stack, and I don't really need to like push the pace or anything, because I do feel like the foam in the shoe, the DNA Tune foam, is a little bit too squishy, and it just doesn't give any bounce back or firmness at all. So it's kind of hard to run fast in the shoe. It feels like you're kind of running in quicksand, but that is a good feeling when your body is a little bit sore and you still want to tack on the miles. I think that this is an absurdly comfortable shoe. I think it does all the basics very well, but obviously it is a more expensive shoe at $200. So if you're looking at this shoe and you're willing to invest the money, I would say that $200 could be a decent price. I obviously would prefer it if Brooks priced it at maybe 180 to 170, but it kind of is what it is. And you're definitely paying a premium for the design as well as the new foam, high stack height. There is a rocker in the forefoot, which definitely makes the shoe feel a little bit more nimble, even though it does feel like you're wearing boats on your feet. And then in my experience, the outsole has been a great performer when it comes to durability as well as traction. So on my easy days, recovery days, I've been loving running in the Brooks Glycerin Max, and I feel like it's been holding up super, super well from a durability standpoint. All right, so next on my list at number 3, we have the Asics Novablast 5. And are we really surprised now? So I've been kind of making a lot of comparison videos with the Novablast 5. Partly the reason for that being is I just always find myself kind of reaching for the shoe. And even though there aren't as many times that I would like to run in the Novablast 5, and the mileage isn't kind of where I want it to be in the Novablast 5. Like I just love reaching for the shoe, but I've only put around 100 miles in this shoe. I just feel like it's a really easy shoe to run in, if that makes sense. It doesn't do anything in particular spectacular, but it covers all the bases. Now the fit, support, lockdown, everything on the upper is good to go, at least when it comes to my foot. The cushion setup is kind of like a little bit better than what you would get in a lot of other daily trainers. You have a little bit higher stack, but it's not gonna be super bouncy, or it's not gonna give you that great energy return that some of these more expensive shoes will give you. And you can still run a wide range of different paces in the shoe, kind of like what I talked about in the Vomero versus Novablast 5 comparison, if you guys have watched that recent video. So overall, I just think that this is a really solid shoe. The things that I don't like about the Novablast 5 is definitely the outsole. I think that the traction is a little bit slippery, as well as the outsole is wearing a lot faster than a lot of my other running shoes. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then the cushion setup, I do feel like it's compressed quite a bit, even though I'm at 100 miles. Typically, running shoes will last, I would say on average for most people, 300 to 400 miles. For me personally, just from my experience, I find that most of my shoes last a little bit shorter than that, around 250 to 300 miles. 300 would be a very durable shoe for me personally, before I start feeling some injuries coming or before I start feeling like I bottomed out the foam and stuff. So I would say, if anything, the biggest knock I can have against the Novablast 5 is definitely the durability, but everything, while it's kind of new or fresh, is really, really nice to run in. So if you're thinking about the Novablast 5, I can't endorse this shoe enough, as long as durability is not too big of a concern. All right, and for those speedier days, or the days that I wanna run a little bit faster, or I wanna do kind of a tempo long run where I'm really pushing myself but on a longer run, I've been loving, and I think you guys can kind of guess, the Saucony Ride 18. So if you've noticed, I don't really have any plated trainers that I've actually put on camera for this video, marathon shoe rotation. I do still run in some of my favorite plated trainers like the Nike Zoom Fly 6 and stuff, but I just don't put them in this rotation because I don't really wear those shoes quite often, especially after I review them, because like I said, I kind of want to save the plated stuff for race day, or if I'm maybe trying to break a PR in the mile or something, I'll throw on some plated shoes. But typically for everyday running, as well as if it's not a super serious speed workout or anything, I love running in non-plated daily trainers or just shoes that are a little bit more traditional in their approach, because they're just a little bit more comfortable to me, as well as I don't want to get used to that plated feeling. So the Saucony Ride 18 is a very versatile shoe. It's also one of my favorite daily trainers. In this video, I already showed you my top 3 daily trainers. That hasn't changed. It's the Saucony Ride 18, the Novablast 5s, and the Nike Pegasus 41s. And the reason why I really like the Ride 18s is mostly the midsole and the insole. So the midsole and insole are Power Run Plus, I believe. I don't think they changed that, so Power Run Plus, but it feels like a TPU or a PIBA blend of foam. They definitely have some plastic in this midsole, which makes it really bouncy, especially when I am running at those faster paces. Now, when you are running slower in the Ride 18s, it is gonna feel a little bit brick-like or a little bit more dense, but once you start running a little bit faster and putting more energy into the foam, it starts to give you that energy back, and it also starts to feel like it's rebounding you a little bit, especially when you catch your stride in the shoe. Another thing that I really like about the Ride 18 is the upper, because it is super breathable. I think that this is one of the most breathable uppers that I've ever worn in a running shoe, and I can actually feel the airflow within this shoe because the mesh is super lightweight and also pretty thin, and it has a lot of perforation throughout the upper, so that's always a good thing. It's not the thinnest mesh upper, so if you're worried a little bit about the durability of the mesh upper, I personally haven't had any issues with the durability, but it is extremely breathable, which I've been really liking. If anything, I had to knock on the Saucony Ride 18, it's maybe the lockdown. Now, I do get really good lockdown in this shoe when it comes to a heel lockdown perspective, but the lockdown that I'm talking about is around the ankle collar or around the tongue. I do the runner's loop in basically all my shoes, including this one. I do feel like it kind of tightens or binds my ankles a little bit, and it feels a little bit off in the shoe, but besides that, I get really good lockdown, and after I run a couple miles, that feeling kind of goes away, but it just a little bit of discomfort in my ankle area, as well as I think that the platform itself on the Ride 18 is a little bit narrow. I do have my lateral pinky toe kind of bulging out of the upper, but that also doesn't bother me when I'm a couple miles in. So overall, the Saucony Ride 18 is a super, super good and versatile daily trainer. I personally think that it's a daily trainer best for a little bit faster runs. So for me, that's how I've been using it. If you don't want a plated option, but you still want something that's kind of fast, I would recommend the Saucony Ride 18. And last but not least, don't know if this will surprise you, but the trainer that I've been kind of surprisingly been wearing the most is the Nike Vomero 18. So there's a lot of reasons for this. I think I recently did a video comparing this one to the Novablast 5, but I've just found myself always reaching for the Vomero 18 when I have a free day to kind of run in any shoe I'd like, because of that Zoom X midsole that's really tall. In the heel as well as in the midfoot, I feel very protected, but in the forefoot, it is a thinner layer, and I do get a little bit of ground feel, and I do get a little bit of response. It's not the most responsive foam, but in the forefoot of the shoe, there still is a little bit of Zoom X. So that gives it a really comfortable yet kind of exciting ride, and I've personally really been enjoying the Vomero 18. If I did have to knock a couple things against it, I would say that it is a bulkier shoe. It does feel a little bit heavier on foot, but but not heavy to the point where I feel like it's hindering me on any long runs or faster runs. I also would say that it's probably not the most versatile shoe. Like if I want to run a little bit faster, I'm gonna probably grab the Saucony Ride 18, or I'm gonna grab a lighter shoe because this is a little bit more on the bulky side. And then another little knock on this shoe would maybe be the forefoot space in the forefoot. I just think that maybe there's a touch more room than they did have in the Pegasus 41. So the Pegasus 41 fit my foot perfectly, and this shoe fits my foot almost perfectly. It still has great lockdown and great support on the upper, but I do feel like there's a touch more room in the forefoot than the 41. So for me, it works perfectly fine, but it's just not that extra level of comfort or elite comfort in my opinion. So overall, the Vomero 18 has been fantastic for me. I actually grabbed this shoe for long runs, easy runs, recovery runs. On the recovery runs, I also will say though that this shoe, since the heel to toe drop is quite big, as well as there is a little bit of a rocker on the shoe, I do find myself running in the shoe a little bit faster than I would particularly like. Because it is such a max cushion shoe, sometimes I just want to run slow in it, but that rocker as well as that high heel to toe drop really kind of gets me going, and sometimes I run a little bit faster than I mean to, which kind of affects my recovery sometimes. But overall, I think that this is a great option if you're looking for a versatile, very comfortable running shoe. It can kind of do a lot of things, wear a lot of different hats, and that's the reason why I've been kind of picking it up a lot. So there we have it. Those are the 7 shoes that I kind of have in my running rotation. I know that that's a lot of shoes, and obviously the honorable mentions I haven't been running in as much, but those are kind of the favorite running shoes that I have been wearing a lot in my recent build for the Long Beach Marathon in October. Training has been going decently well. I definitely need to put in a lot more work and definitely need to kind of hit all my paces, all my long runs, all my speed workouts. But yeah, these are the shoes that I've kind of decided, or not really decided, but gravitated towards when I want to go on a run. And yeah, stay tuned. I do have a couple shoes coming in the mail. So I am gonna be starting to test shoes again and putting out more reviews, first impressions, all that type of stuff. So stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for your support, and I will see you guys in the next video.